Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Status Effect Show. I'm your host, Michael Atkins, and today we are going to be discussing esports organizations. If you've ever played games like Roller Coaster Tycoon or Jurassic World Evolution, you know that building an empire from the ground up takes time, resources, and dedication to the craft. Here with me to talk about how to build and maintain that empire is the COO and General Manager of RBG Esports, Michael Swann. Michael, thank you so much for being here today, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. Well, kind of tell me a little bit about your journey as far as esports is concerned and how you got into this industry and into the world. And yeah, let's start off there.
The very first thing I ever did regarding esports actually it wasn't even like a competitive thing. My During my undergrad, I wrote a 30-page paper about how Xbox Live and the budding thing that was Halo Nation at the time with MLG and that kind of stuff.
Right.
It was basically how Xbox Live had changed gaming in general and competitive gaming basically forever. I was a freshman in college. I used it as an excuse to con my mom into buying me an Xbox 360 and a copy of Halo 3 as a freshman in college.
Heck yeah.
and ended up writing a very extensive paper about just how that advent of technology and that progression really changed how we play video games. And since that happened, gaming has always been a part of my culture, about what I do, how I live. When I was in high school, I had a PlayStation 2 with NCAA football, and I actually that was something I used to practice playbooks. If I wanted to visually look at how a play was running, because I didn't have access to film, I could just queue up a playbook in NCAA and see the formation from whatever position I was playing, and I could see player movement.
That's such an interesting way to utilize a video game as far as strategy and tactics are concerned. That's amazing. I've never heard that before.
I probably don't look like it now, but in high school, I was a running back, quarterback. I was a skill player in high school.
Dude, that's awesome.
That was being able to basically see the I formation and see where your lineman makes a cut or does a goofy block scheme.
Yeah.
Being able to visually see that from the backfield and not have to actually go run the play was a huge advantage to me. Gaming has just been part of what I do.
Yeah.
And then because I was an 18 to 22-year-old guy in college, I was in that prime gaming demographic. A lot of my fraternity brothers gamed. We along with that 30-page paper, we would go over. There was two sets of brothers that had adjoining apartments.
Yeah.
We put a router in the middle of the hallway and have griff ball nights on Friday night playing that. It's always been a part of what I do, and finding ways for my fraternity brothers to play games at a high level was something we did. And when I met Josh, my co-owner, we met up on a gaming Facebook page for the brothers of the fraternity. There's about 2,500, 3,000 brothers on the page.
Yeah.
We're like, well, we both were like Rocket League. Let's host a pro style league for brothers only. Let's just do that and we'll have fun. And we're like, well, this is cool. Players are learning, they're progressing. The skill ceiling went from Diamond 2 all the way up to GC from the first season we did to the second season. There's a huge progression in the player skill. And we were like, well, let's make this a job. If we open this up and don't do it just for brothers, if we just take what we learned and scale it, we could really make something. And what we thought was going to be 3 years ago, what we thought was going to be really reimagining and building a good platform for I guess we could call it the minor leagues of esports, AA and AAA ball, basically, quickly became why can't we go build the next tier 1 org?
Yeah.
Why can't we not go challenge NRG? Why can't we go challenge Cloud9? Why can't we go challenge Fnatic? And we ended up founding a small corporation in April of 2018, and a month after that, we signed a Rocket League team and 3 Hearthstone players and started competing. And here we are over 2 years later. Here we are now. We have an MDL. We now have an MDL CS:GO team.
Yeah.
A very established Rocket League program. I've had Grandmasters in my Hearthstone program as well. We've done a lot in the last 2 years, and it's been a very crazy journey.
Yeah. I mean, so you've kind of described a little bit as far as leading up to your esports organization, but can you describe to me a little bit about what an esports organization is?
An esports organization, at its core, is a support group for competitive play. It's your guy putting together social media campaigns. It's your roster managers making sure teams are practicing, eating correctly, not sitting playing the game for 8, like making sure, like, my Rocket League manager is a big proponent for this, is making sure that they go for a walk, go do something other than play the game.
Right.
It's my partnership coordinator or my partnership director going out and finding and building relationships with potential sponsors. It's my CEO building relationships with local LANs for us to host boot camps. It's me as a GM going out and scouting talent. It's a bunch of different things that all ultimately are supporting the industry and supporting individual players, whether they be pros or content creators. It's the simplest way to put what is an esports org is it's your support group. If you're a player, it's everything that goes into helping you succeed. If you're a content creator, it's everything going into helping your brand grow. If you are an industry professional, it's your team to accomplish those goals.
Right. And so within esports organizations, now you guys specifically do not just focus on one game, and most esports organizations, to my knowledge, don't just focus on one game, competing in one game. You kind of spread it out among a few different games. Like you mentioned, Rocket League is kind of where you guys got your start, as well as, I know you said CSGO, and what other games do you all compete in that you haven't mentioned yet?
Okay. I'll just go down the list. So CSGO, we're in the Mountain Dew League. Hearthstone, we're on the Masters Tour, and we've had players go in and out of the Grandmaster Series as well. My Rocket League team has been, the brand for RBG has been in the Rival Series the past 3 seasons for Rocket League, and we got close to being around for RLCS Season 9. We've supported Halo rosters. We actually made a top 8 at DreamHack Atlanta, top 12 at DreamHack Anaheim in Halo. We have we're investing in FGCs. We actually currently have the #1 rated Smash Ultimate player for the state of Louisiana. I think he's actually in the top 50 in the world right now.
Oh my gosh!
In Sea Falcon, he's a phenomenal talent that we have. I'm actually. It's not public yet, but it'll probably be public by the time this comes out. I'm signing a Valorant team today. That's being a thing.
I love it. I love to hear that.
So it's, I think that's the long and short of everything that we do.
Heck yeah.
And then we also have a growing content team of streamers that's been phenomenal to work with as well.
That's amazing. Well, I'll make sure not to put this out before you guys go public with that.
That's if. I'm going to say what day we're recording this, but it's literally a done deal. It's fine.
Okay.
You'll be good.
Okay.
You'll
cool.
be good.
Okay. I just don't want to make any waves like that.
Nah. You got the inside scoop, man.
Exactly. Yeah. You heard it here first, folks. No. Well, awesome, man. Honestly, Valorant is pretty near and dear to my heart. My wife and I play that pretty regularly, pretty much daily, actually. And we definitely personally want to do sort of a get good series from both of us, because we're not pro level by any means, any stretch or anything like that. We didn't play CS:GO, so we don't have that sort of aim down. But we're learning. We were coming over from like Overwatch, and so we understand the use of abilities and how important they are to a game like Valorant. And so yeah, we're trying to get better at it. Maybe one day we'll be up there with the pros, right? No. So As far as being a general manager and COO of an esports organization, I know you mentioned a couple of things that you do for the organization. I'm sure the list is so long, but what are your main responsibilities that you're accountable for within your org?
Roster management is my main purview as GM. When it comes to signing new talent and holding that talent accountable, whether it be for contract obligations or whatever it might be. Maybe they do something questionable on social media or something like that. All that stuff is my gig. It's my bag. A lot of what I do is just weekly meetings with my roster managers. Did we do XYZ? Are we playing in these tournaments? Right. As we get close to, like with MDL, for example, that starts this week. That starts this week for us. Play what play does, and I'm already getting questions about what's the game plan if we have to make a roster change. So fielding those types of things, doing exploration on what available talent is there in the scene. It really comes down to those. I also do a lot of scouting for the content team and helping my Twitch manager reach out to streamers and find those extra pieces that we can add to the team to really build out and round out our available audience. On the COO side of it, the chief operating officer gig, that's more about keeping tabs on the daily actions of the org. What's going on? Our due dates happening throughout the week. What's the week look like? What's the month look like? What does the next 6 months look like? Right. From an operational standpoint, when are our tournaments? Now it's gotten easier because COVID is erasing travel for me, and we can talk about that more here in a little bit. Yeah. But it's for the GM. From the GM side of it, it's what are my available rosters? What available talent do I have? What games do I want to be in? And where am I getting the money to sign these players? And then on the COO side of it, it's what are our actionables on the week? What are our actionables on the month? And what are our targets 6 months out to a year? Sure.
So you're tracking like KPIs and org goals and things like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So what would you say are some of the biggest challenges that come with your positions as COO and general manager?
From the GM perspective, it's especially when it comes to signing talent or like doing a contract extension or something like that. You're always in a position, especially as a smaller organization, because there is inherent value in what a player or content creator does for an organization. You feel compelled to give them the moon.
Yeah.
But you have to balance that between available resources and really putting in perspective what that player or content creator does for the whole organization.
Right.
Because like on the content team I have right now, it's a team of 20 streamers, and they all vary in average viewer count, how many hours a week they stream. Because we are smaller, it's harder for us to go, oh hey, everyone's gonna log 20 hours this week. Like it's unfeasible for us to do that.
Right.
Whereas a team like Team Liquid can be like, yo, make sure you stream 30 hours this week, and if you get 50,000 viewers or 50,000 hours watch time, we'll give you a $500 bonus on the month. Whereas like I can't feasibly do that for every content creator I have.
Sure.
So really putting a balance and making sure players and content creators feel and see the value in working with a brand like RBG is probably the toughest thing for me to do, because it's something I have to attack from so many different angles, and really sell the idea that working with RBG is beneficial.
So what do you feel are the differences between, say, a smaller organization like you guys call yourselves versus one of the Team Liquids or one of the Cloud9s, something like that? What do people get with RBG that they might not get with one of the other orgs?
Well, I would like to say that the sense of support is higher there.
Okay.
It may not be financial support, but because that's honestly a small organization like RBG. We don't have the pockets that
Sure.
that Team Liquid or Cloud9 or NRG would have.
Sure.
Because you have Shaquille O'Neal backing NRG. Like that's if I had Shaquille O'Neal backing RBG, it'd be a complete. Everything for me would be different.
Then you just heard. I think we just heard that Post was with
Post Malone working with FaZe
yeah.
Clan, or no, or is it with? Oh yeah, no, it is with Envy.
Yeah, because he's got the Empire now. I think he invested in Empire.
Yeah, and then, but yeah, like there's just the big tier 1 orgs that have like they've generated a lot of revenue. They have a lot of history. Like they just have more tools at their disposal than say I do. But where I can excel at is making sure that you never feel like you're just a number. You're not just something I put a tick on the wall for. Like, okay, got another streamer, got it. It's you are a valuable person,
Absolutely.
Not just a streamer or a player. You are a valuable person to what we are doing, and finding ways to make sure that they believe that is one of the toughest parts for me.
Okay. Well, that's really cool to hear as far as like, even though you guys might not have the financial pockets, like you were saying, you guys do have the support in other areas. You want people to make sure that they feel basically supported through your organizations. Like, hey, we're investing in you guys by putting you on our brand, associating our brand with you, and we really want you all to succeed. We don't want you to just be a number, which is really cool to hear. Something that I do feel gets lost in maybe some of the bigger organizations.
It definitely can.
I'm not saying it does everywhere. I'm just saying
I couldn't speak on another org situation.
Sure.
Because like publicly Complexity does visually looking from the outside looking in, they look like they do a great job making sure that everyone involved in the organization feels like because they have the whole like Cole Familia thing going on. Like, we have RBG fam, they got Cole Familia. Yeah. Like they really sell that all inclusive vibe that like we're going for.
Absolutely.
With our history being spawned from a fraternity basically.
Yeah.
Like we really try and activate on that brotherhood,
sure,
all together thing, that true family gig. Whereas from just looking at like a G2 or an NRG or a Team Liquid, I could believe that you could get lost in the shuffle. Not that someone does or anyone would, but
yeah,
I would say the opportunity for that to happen is higher there than it is with me, because everyone in my work can DM me on Discord.
Yeah.
Even if you're like a day one streamer, like there's 20 different ways to get a hold of me if you need something. So
yeah, there might be a little bit more red tape with the higher organizations.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's okay. I mean, again, there are trade-offs, and we're not saying this is two people's perspective from the outside looking in. So we don't know this for a fact, obviously.
Oh yeah.
I just want to make sure that nobody in the comments is like, well, you guys have no idea what you're talking about. It's like, well, you're not wrong. This is just speculation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and what are some things that people don't really think about when it comes to esports and more specifically organizations? So you mentioned certain things that you track, like KPIs and having to think about those things, but also the player's overall health. It's not just about playing a game. It's about creating community and making sure that your players are taken care of physically and emotionally and things like that, or mentally, versus just playing the game for 8 hours on end.
Yeah, a lot of people will probably look at an esports organization and just go, okay, all they do is produce content and they shill out their players and content creators as advertising bait to bring on sponsors. And that's you can't do that all the time. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, because that's how organizations bring in sponsors, is like, hey, we have these content creators, we have this access to this audience, come sponsor us. But you can't just keep throwing bait out. You can't just keep doing that and not support your players and content creators in other ways. Like they have to be taking care of themselves, and be just the drive and the passion that goes into being a content creator. It's very easy to get lost in that and focus on, oh man, if I want to make it, I got to stream 20 hours a day. I leave like 4 hours for sleep. And I'm like, bro, you can't do that.
You will burn yourself out
Yeah.
so quick.
So making sure that players and content creators have tools and resources where they can make sure they're getting sleep, making sure they're eating well, making sure that they're doing all those little things that for them in their day-to-day will get lost in the shuffle. Is a big part of what I do and what my managers do. One of my old Rocket League teams, because Rocket League is just a younger game in general. I mean, the pros, you can be 15 years old and be a pro in that game,
which is crazy.
It lends itself to a person in my position having to interact with parents, and that's not something I'm fine with it. I have my degree is in music education. I'm used to that interaction with a parent trying to basically sell the idea that a certain extracurricular activity is important and can provide a well-rounded life experience and be just impactful in a person's development and their ability to socialize. Yeah. So I'm used to interacting with parents, and I have definitely had moms and dads go, "Can you please tell my kid to stop playing the game for 12 hours?" I was like, "Yo, man, you can't be doing that. Go outside. Go eat something. Go on a walk. Do something other than playing the game." And that's where a lot of people, when people look at NRG or they look at Cloud9, I don't think they realize that there is someone that goes on just via text going, "Hey man, how you doing today?
Yeah.
Doing all right? Hey, did you eat something? Hey, did you get 8 hours of sleep? You're gonna make that meeting in 6 hours. You have a media activation for a sponsor. Are you gonna be able to do that?" Like there's so much background stuff that happens in an organization that no one really catches, because when they see a brand, they go, "Oh, they've won these titles. Oh, they're playing in this tournament. They're playing in this major. They put out that really funny video. They put out that insightful video on how to play the game better." Like they don't see all that background to some people may call it minutia. So that all just that extra background stuff that is so actually important to the development of players that they just don't realize that that's a thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, and that's kind of what I wanted to explore and go into, because there's a lot of people who just see esports organizations like, oh, they play games, and it's just like, no, there's so much more that goes into it than that.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I wanted to accomplish with this series, is to go through different people who are within different positions in esports organizations or in the industry in general, and to get that perspective is really amazing. So sort of walk me through a day-to-day. How do you manage each aspect of the org without like going crazy?
You, to a certain extent, you don't not go crazy. You go crazy.
You're in a constant state of crazy then.
It's not constant. It's like a manageable threshold of crazy and bizarre.
Okay.
Because you'll get a random text message or a Discord message or an email from a player who's in a frantic state, like, "Oh my God, emergency." And you'll solve that problem, but then you'll have someone else go, "Hey man, I really wanted to do this project, but we don't really have the financing for it, but it would be a really funny video. What can we do to figure that out?" And then I sit down with my co-owner or like someone else on my my C team and just be like, how do we find $1,000 to go do this, to go make this video happen?
Right.
But it's just bouncing back and forth from brush fire to casual conversation to another brush fire to all of a sudden, like back before COVID, it was like brush fire, casual conversation, very important meeting, flight to another state or country for an event, flight back, and then like while you're like, I've had this happen, like be out of the country for an event, and there be a brush fire that apparently I'm the only guy that can solve.
Oh,
not that I'm the only guy that does anything.
No.
I have a fantastic staff, but especially like for DreamHacks DreamHacks in North America, easily 4 to 5 staff go on that trip along with whatever pro teams we bring.
Sure.
So it creates an environment where 5 people on staff who are normally at a computer to work on a project or a problem are suddenly there's one computer for all 5 of us because we just didn't think to bring one. It's like it comes down to lack of planning or whatever it might be, because we're focused on like being at the event, taking photos, doing that kind of stuff.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's a constant level of just like generic crazy, like a very manageable. It's like managed chaos.
Okay.
It's really the best way to describe it.
That's kind of how I thought it was going to be, as far as somebody in your position is concerned. Just manage chaos, putting out fires.
In that, an organization that has like a Twitter following of like 5 to about 12K on Twitter, we're right on we're getting close to 6K.
Okay.
In that ballpark, it's a managed state of chaos. Okay. I would say once you have dedicated branding deals and like the financials start taking care of themselves, it frees up a lot more time and resources for you to kind of delegate more and not be in a constant state of what's the next thing, right? Because then I can kind of plan out the week better. Because like right now, the only like fully dedicated days I get to the team are Tuesdays and Fridays. I for that, it's like a 16-hour day for me. I start at depending, you start at 7 a.m. all the way to 10 a.m. depending on what meeting times I have, because time zones are a thing. And the same thing on Friday. So it's between 7 and 10 a.m. my day gets going with meetings, and then they go all the way through. Like today, for example, I had an interview for a social media team member, followed by a conference call, followed by a 3-hour streaming session because a brand new game I really like came out. I have this with you, and then I have another conference call, followed by another conference call, followed by a meeting.
Nice.
I think that's all I have today. But I'm sure someone will DM me and go, "Oh, hey, I need your input on this," which will create like another 30 minutes, another task. An hour call. Yeah, another task. Yeah. But yeah, it really is a managed to circle back to the question. It's a managed state of chaos. That's just like you just determine what your acceptable level is.
Yeah.
And you just kind of exist at that plane.
There you go. Exist at that plane without hitting the breaking point, right?
Basically, yeah. It's
fair.
It's awesome, but it can also be very bizarre. Like 5 years ago, I did not think I'd be doing what I do now.
Hey, but you're doing it, and you're doing it well.
But I'm doing it now.
There you go. So you kind of mentioned COVID a couple different times, how it has changed the day-to-day. How has it affected, and how do you think it affects orgs, just on a general basis? I mean, how has the landscape changed?
COVID changed a lot of things, and not necessarily. Some things were actually for the better, and some things are catastrophically not for the better.
Sure.
One of the biggest visual thing for COVID was we don't get to travel.
Right.
And that's something that my players and myself and all my staff and or like player family members too, because like we had back when Rocket League was really big in the DreamHacks, we had like DreamHack majors for Rocket League. Right. Traveling to an event, traveling to majors and seeing like your kids or your team compete and be there to take photos and do all kinds of cool media opportunities, where like that was what we lived for. Like yes, we're trying to generate content, we're trying to sell the brand as much as we can, but being able to go out and like try to win hardware is where everything really stems from, being a competitor.
Right.
And that was something super near and dear to my co-owner, Josh Arcilia. He's an ex MLG semi-pro from Halo Reach. He used to travel all up and down the East Coast back when MLG was a thing to compete in Halo 3 and Halo Reach. But some of my fondest memories of the team have been on trips. I got getting to go to Bucharest, getting to go out to Atlanta for DreamHack, going to Anaheim for DreamHack, going to Montreal. I actually didn't get to go to Philadelphia with the CSGO team. Josh took that trip, but there's so many opportunities to go out and see things, do things, experience things with your team, with your brothers in arms, basically.
Yeah.
And that not being a thing, having to compete online, while it does save the organization money, because it saves me the headache of playing travel agent. That was another thing about Managed Chaos, trying to book 7 different flights from 7 different locales to get to one point.
I used to travel, and it's just doing it for me was annoying.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get it.
Yeah. But yeah, not having to travel, the ability to go out and experience things, because like one of our things with travel is we always try to turn it into a video. So if you go to the RBG YouTube page, there's a YouTube series we do called Another Look, and I think it's at 10 episodes right now. It might be at 9. I think it's 10. Maybe I'm wrong and it's at 11. Either way, it's an encapsulation of what happens when we travel. You get to see behind the scenes things. You see clips of our players competing. You get to see our players just commune and be a group.
Yeah.
In competition and outside of competition, and then part of that too, we always try and like find something in the city we're at to go do. One of my favorite videos we did was for DreamHack Dallas. Luckily, that's local for me, but bringing people out from Atlanta, bringing people from Michigan, bringing people from all over the country to come to Dallas for DreamHack Dallas. We got to take the whole team, and I think one of my Rocket League kids, both his parents flew out. Like the whole group, there's about 20 of us. We went to Top Golf, like the Sunday after the event. We were done competing, and we went to Top Golf for the evening. And it's a really fun part of the video. But being able to do stuff like that with your team is not being able to do it is a bummer. It's the same thing with like the DFW Esports group. Not being able to go out and commune with people it's tough.
I know it is.
Yeah. But on the flip side, especially for like RBG, not having to travel has made us think about what can we do digitally to interact and continue audience engagement. What can we do to further the brand without being out in the field, basically?
Sure.
So it's allowed us to focus more on the content team. It's allowed us to brainstorm ideas for videos. It's allowed us to do all sorts of things like that and reprioritize what we were doing.
So that's actually a great segue to my next question. How much does an org need to focus on competition versus content creation, or is it basically two sides of the same sword?
The quick and easy answer, and Hector would say is the right answer. Content is king.
Yeah, I remember him saying that at the conference.
Content is king, because that is one of the easiest ways for you to sell yourself to a sponsor. Is having the outreach, having the audience, and you're not going to have it if you don't put out content. Which is why, like when we travel, we create the vlogs. We made a really funny Hearthstone video. It's about 3 minutes long, because my Hearthstone team is multicultural. Like we got, at the time of the video, we had 2 kids from the UK, a guy who has dual Polish American citizenship, and then 2 other Americans on the team. And so it provided us an opportunity to be like, well, we can make one of those funny accent videos. Like, here, read these 20 words and we'll splice together. And it's a really funny video. I really enjoy it.
That's awesome.
So we're able to do that. It's harder to do it now. We'd have to do it via Discord or via Zoom now.
Right.
Which is doable. It's just it doesn't feel like as engaging.
You lose something, especially
when you lose something.
Yeah, when it's definitely a team mentality and you guys are a team. Not being together is you definitely lose that.
Yeah, you just lose that little extra something.
Yeah,
but it's it just creates. I lost my train of thought somehow. We were talking about
basically content versus
the content versus competition.
Yeah.
Now there are, if you're looking at it from a sponsorship perspective, like how am I going to go out and get sponsors?
Sure.
There are people out there, like there are organizations and companies out there that they don't care so much about your audience and your outreach, and they like, how many wins you got? Where's the hardware? Show me you have a track record for winning.
They just want that number.
They are only going to associate with top tier teams that are competing and playing in majors and winning them. So the actual right answer is it's two edges of the same sword. Because that those opportunities for competition, if you're smart, you're able to turn those into really good content pieces, which is what we try to do with travel, because we knew we were going to be doing it. And it's one of the reasons I'm like super bummed COVID happened, because like Hearthstone Masters Tour, for example, had 6 majors this year. And there were supposed to be 2 per region, 2 in America, 2 in Europe, and then 2 in Asia.
Gotcha.
And being able to go out to like Bali, Indonesia, and shoot a video,
that would be amazing.
It'd be great. It'd be amazing.
Yeah.
So I mean, we did Arlington, we did Bucharest. We're missing out on Spain. We missed out on Sweden, and we're missing out on Montreal too. So it's just like not having those opportunities forces you to think about content creation differently, and that's really where the whole content is king thing comes from. Because honestly, besides CDL or CWL, majors are not getting like a lot of attention this year,
right? From
viewership wise, the Hearthstone majors that have been on YouTube Gaming, they're not. I mean, they're probably getting 3,000, 4,000 viewers every stream. It's just, even with Twitch creating changes, and I thought this was really great, having a whole esports tab on Twitch is phenomenal.
Yeah, I noticed that a couple weeks back, and I just absolutely loved it.
Yeah, it's a really great thing for the space. It's just without things being live, it's creating less buzz around the event.
Yeah.
So at that point, finding you as an organization, you have to find different ways to create content. And to Hector's credit, content is king.
Content is king. Title of this episode. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. So we've talked a lot about kind of what you do in the organizations as a whole, and where to put different what's the word I'm looking for? Not really incentives, but where to put your eggs in what baskets, sort of deal when it comes to the org. What would you say to somebody who wants to one day own their org, own their own organization within the industry?
There's a couple different things to go into this.
Sure.
Do not do it alone. I'm very lucky to have the business partner I do in Josh. While we have the same vision, we're looking at it from different perspectives.
Sure.
With him really taking on that CEO role and being in that space, he's looking at things at he's looking at the big picture of it. Whereas I get to focus on some of the more finer detail things.
Yeah,
especially when it comes to like roster management. It's not that I wouldn't trust, it's not that I don't trust Josh with roster management. He's a far more emotional guy than I am, and so having that, I feel like, and this is something that him and I have talked about, and especially with our operations manager, is that him being like his mentality being the way it is, just lends him to being able to go, all right, so here's the roadmap. We need to get here from here to here, and we want to tick these boxes. How do we do it? Sure. Whereas I get to look at a smaller map and go, okay, when we get to this phase, I get to do X, Y, and Z. And we also get to look at it from different financially, we're looking at it from a different perspective as well. Whereas Josh is focusing on finding new investors, people to bring into the org to really grow out our ownership team, and whereas I'm more focused on where are we getting sponsorship. Like, we got to get sponsorship money. We gotta find brands willing to work with us. We gotta produce a profitable. We are a business. We gotta find ways to make the business profitable.
Right.
So it allows us to really tackle that. So not doing it alone is important. It's incredibly important. Having really good legal counsel, crucial.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky to have met Jonathan Jordan. Very lucky. It was a freak invitation, short conversation on LinkedIn. I'm not a huge fan of LinkedIn. There are some things about it I really enjoy, but for the first like 6 months of me using it, I had not had a beneficial conversation on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, Jonathan Jordan went, "Hey, let's get coffee." I'm like, okay, first off, no one local to me on LinkedIn has ever asked me to go get coffee and just like want to talk about esports.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm down. So we went.
Yeah.
And
this was pre-COVID.
This is pre-COVID, definitely pre-COVID.
No, I'm just saying that for the viewers.
Definitely pre-COVID. But what turned into a casual conversation of like what got you interested in esports, what I was doing with the brand, with my brand, turned into a short pitch of what he was trying to do at KRCL, and I was like, well, that's insane. It's awesome. It's insane. And I would love to be a part of it. Like if we're gonna call this getting in on the ground floor, I'm sold.
Yeah.
So having really good legal counsel, crucial. I mean, there's been so many times where I've gotten very close to getting into a fight with a much bigger organization than us.
Sure.
Like, I've had players poached by Team Liquid. I've had other organizations kind of ask questions and be a little pushy about how our contracts function, and having Jonathan and the rest of KRCL right there to back me up has provided a lot of confidence in how I manage my team. Let's see.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good.
Jonathan on the show a little bit ago. I don't know if you saw the episode or not.
I did. I watched some of it before we came on today.
Absolutely. So when he was talking about everything that goes and not even everything, but kind of highlighting certain things in player contracts, and things to watch out for in these legal proceedings. I mean, it's just insane to me, and really opened my eyes to why you should hire a legal counsel if you're looking not just as an organization but as a player as well. So I think in this industry, it will behoove people to seek out legal counsel when they start getting serious about things.
Absolutely. I can't tell you how many terrible contracts I have seen.
Sure.
From like organizations trying to like sign a player I'm interested in, or maybe I had a situation where a Halo roster was thinking about, they were picking between us and another team. One player on the roster signed a piece of paper with this other team, and the contract was one paragraph. It was
what?
Yeah, it was one paragraph and then a line under it for the one player to sign with him representing the other three players. To which I said, well, that's not real. Yeah.
That's like, here, let me write this contract on a bar napkin.
Yeah,
like,
that's basically what it was.
What?
And I ended up, I mean, we signed that team. It was a very good experience. Like, they were very happy to work with us for the duration of that agreement. So, well,
there you go, man.
But you see so many bizarre contracts out there from esports startups who they're trying to like check boxes on what they think are important,
right? And
then they're not looking at it from a higher tier perspective to see how this is impacting both sides.
Yeah.
And I do this a lot because I offer, because I'm a very community focused person, especially on the games I'm really passionate about, like Rocket League, for example.
Yeah.
Like I offer my I guess time to soon to be pro players who are looking at some of these contracts, and I was like, look, if you want me to review it for you, I will. Sure. I'll give you my honest opinion on it. I may not have been doing this since, I've only been really actively as a executive type person.
Right.
I've been in esports for over 2 years. Well, that may not be a long time, but I've dealt with enough people and feel like I'm an intelligent enough person where I can give some really honest input on what you're about to commit yourself to.
Yeah.
And that's just having something like Jonathan representing RBG has just been phenomenal.
Yeah, and honestly, honesty in this business, honesty and knowledge of the industry are two amazing things to have. It's just it will get you far in this industry. I feel like I've only been really in the industry for the last maybe 8 months, something like that, where I've really studied and started to get back in this. So I'm still pretty young in here, but I've learned a lot just by not just by doing the show, but also talking with different people about their perspectives of the industry and how sort of the trajectory that it's on. But yeah, and you were saying, sorry, I cut you off there.
No, you're good. The only other like really next thing that comes to mind for like advice for someone who wants to start their own org is have a plan. Like plan out your financials, plan out your time, because when you started up from scratch, RBG started from absolute scratch.
Yeah.
We struggled initially because we honestly, and this was like really a communication thing between Josh and myself and the rest of the ownership team. We didn't have a very precise plan on how much startup capital we had.
Sure.
Because if let's say you try and start a business with $10,000, if you think I only have access to $10,000 right now, you're going to spend that $10,000 differently than you would if, say, you knew for certain you had access to, say, $100,000. Because it makes that $10,000, it may seem a little bit more insignificant, but it just allows you to be a little bit more risky.
Yeah.
And it's going to make you do things differently. So that we had a much similar situation with RBG, where I thought I was giving advice to Josh on what we should be doing because I thought we had access to X amount of money. And I'm like, well, we have access to, if we only have X amount, we need to make smart decisions on how we spend that money. And that's honestly why we've lasted, it's the one thing that's enabled us to be as successful as we have been with how much money we've honestly spent.
Right.
That information I'm not gonna reveal yet, but the
no need.
But if someone, and I talk to Jonathan about this all the time, and he's like one of the biggest like feathers in the cap moments for me is because he knows our financials, when he saw how much we had, how we were spending it, and what we've done since day one. Yeah. It's astounding on what we've done. It's actually incredible.
Sure.
It's one of the driving factors on why we're trying to bring on new investors, making sure we're finding sponsorships, because if we've done XYZ with an amount of money A, I can do far more with a much bigger amount in option B. Yeah. So planning out your financials, planning out your strategies, whether it be for business, for social media, for who you're going to bring on board as staff, develop a plan before you really commit to it.
Well, good. I mean, that is amazing right there. If you guys are interested, viewers at home watching, if you're interested in starting your own organization, there has been a lot of good information here, not just about how to do it, but about what goes into it. So a lot of people, like I said earlier, think that it's just people playing games for 12 hours a day, and it's really not. You have to run this like a business. And I hope that has kind of come across in this episode, that this is a big deal. This is a big commitment, not only from players, but from everybody who is on the C team, like you were saying, and everybody who is in more of a business role. There are so many positions that go into esports organizations that you guys should really focus on and see if your interests might align with that, especially if you're in high school. I mean, I'm hoping that that esports is going to become an extracurricular. I know you were talking about how you got your degree in music. I'm hoping that later down the road we'll see esports as sort of an extracurricular activity, and we're starting to see it pop up in some places, but I want it to be really nationwide and really worldwide.
Yeah, it needs to be mainstream.
Yeah,
it's got to get to that point.
I would love it. I met somebody who is trying to make it mainstream within their district, at least, and that was just really cool to hear. The fact that people are starting to see the value in esports as not only just an extracurricular activity that you can play video games professionally, but the business aspect, and which is very intriguing to me, because not everybody, it's just like traditional sports, not everybody's good enough to go pro, and that's okay. If you love the industry enough, you can find a role within the industry, and it's really great to hear your perspective from such a high position within your organization, the COO and general manager. I mean, that's amazing. So thank you so much for being on the show today. Where can people find you and your organization online?
Okay, you can find RBG at rbg.gg. I recently was able to get my hands on that domain.
Nice.
Yeah. And if you are curious about anything I'm doing, I actually recently purchased Swann, SWANN.GG.
Okay.
That's going to be the hub for everything I'm doing. I've been wanting to get an esports related podcast going myself.
Okay.
Yeah. I used to podcast a lot when I was younger.
Yeah.
I used to work for cultureshock.com, who I was like their lead editor and the lead producer for this thing we called CultureCast, and I've always had a love for what guys like you are doing with these types of shows. So
thank you.
And wanting to get like my own thing going is also going to be a place you can check out my YouTube. You can check out all my socials. Yeah. So rbg.gg for anything RBG related, at RBG_esports on Twitter. And then Swann, SWANN.GG. And that's where you can find all me. Yeah.
Awesome.
Good game.
Good game. Awesome. Well, just like Good Game, we had another good podcast. I hope you guys at home enjoyed it. Make sure to go check out rbg.gg. Oh my gosh, so many G's. rbg.gg. And also make sure to go root for them in any sort of competitions that they are doing, whether it be CSGO, Rocket League, Hearthstone, anything that they are a part of. Make sure to go check them out. Make sure to go root for them. And you guys know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you want to see a particular role from the esports or gaming industry, let us know down in the comments below. We really want to kind of hit each and every aspect within this video series. But until then, guys, we'll see you in the next one.